Be showing you how to subnet the easy way using both a chart like this and a subnet calculator. So the first thing we need to do is we need to take a look here at the prefix length /16. So if we come here to the chart, you'll see here's /16. And so what we'll need to do is you'll see here's 255, 255, here's 0. So what we need to do is, because this is the same, this would be the interesting byte here, the 0. And so because 0 would be the interesting byte, what would happen is 191.237 would be the same. And then because of this, we would take 226. All right. So if we would do 226, so or 1 divided by 226, that would be 0. So if we do 0 times 226, it would be 0. So because of that being 0, the network address would be 191.237.0.0/16. All right. So next, what we're going to do is to find this broadcast address. This is where the subnet calculator will come in. So what we're going to do is we're going to copy the network address with the prefix length. We're going to copy that, go here to the subnet calculator, and for the first address reciter, we're going to paste that in. You'll see here that the last address is 191.237.255.255. So this last address would be our broadcast address. All right, so you'll see here the answer was correct. Let's try another one. So in this case, again, the first step to look here is look at the prefix length, /11. So in this case, we got to go to the chart, and here we have the prefix length /11. So we're going to highlight this. And you can see this right here, the 224 is the interesting byte. So in this case, because 224 is the interesting byte, we're going to take 198, and this is going to be the start. All right. Now what we need to do is we need to take 120 and divide that by the block size, which is 32. Yeah, we would take 120 divide by 32, and then 3 times 32, that would be 96. So we'd be 198.96.0.0/11. So we basically, all we did was take 120 divided by 32, and then we took 32 times 3 from the answer, 3.75, and we got 96. So in this case, it'd be 198.96.0.0/11. And then the broadcast address, if we take this, copy it, go to our subnet calculator, paste it in the first address reciter box, you can see that the last address, or the broadcast address, is 198.127.255.255. So if we paste that in, check it, says it's correct. Let's try another one. So again, the first step is to look at the citer, or the prefix length. So in this case, it'd be /26. All right. So we come here to the chart, here's /26, and you'll see that the interesting byte is 192. So because the interesting byte is 192, the first 3 octets are the same. So in this case, it would be 77, 123, 51 is the same. And the block size is 64. So if we divide 64 by 81, we get 0. And if we would multiply 81 times 0, it would just be 0. Or, I'm sorry, if we would do 64, or I'm sorry, 81 divided by 64 would be 1. So in this case, we would take 64 times 1, that would be 64/26. All right. So then what we would do is, again, to find the broadcast address, we'll take the network address along with the prefix length, copy it, go to the subnet calculator, paste it in, and you'll see here's the last broadcast address, and there it is. So that is correct. Let's try another one. So going back to the chart, again, as we mentioned, the first step is to look at the /20. All right. You'll see that the /20 is the prefix length. So we'll come here to the chart, and here's the /20. So here, the interesting bit is 240. So in this case, everything prior to the 240, or in other words, the first and second octets, would be the same. So in this case, 214, 170 would be the same. Where we want to look at is 249. All right. So in this case, what we want to do is we want to take 249 divided by 16. We get 15.5625. And then what we want to do then is take 16 times that by 15. We get 240. All right. And then it would be .0 because it's the network address /20. All right. So again, copy this answer, paste it into the calculator, and you'll see that the broadcast address is 214.170.255.255. So there we go. The answer is correct. Let's try another one. So here, first step is to go to /8. All right. So if we go and do, or go to the chart, we see here /8. In this case, there's no interesting byte here, so it's just 255.0.0. So this is a very easy one, actually, where you don't really need to use a calculator if you don't need to. If you do, that's fine. But in this case, all this really is just 162.0.0.0/8. All right. And then the broadcast address, we would copy the network address, paste it in, and here's the broadcast address, 162.255.255.255. All right, let's do another one. So again, the first step is to look at the prefix length, so /21. We come here to the prefix length, and here's /21. All right. What we'll do next is find the interesting byte in the subnet mask. So here's the interesting byte, the 248. All right. So in this case, for this problem, everything, or the first two octets, 2883 would be the same. Now we would take 25. All right, we would take 25, divide that by 8, we would get 3. And if we multiply 8 times 3, we should get 24. So in this case, it would be 24.0/21. If we copy and paste that, we would get 2883.31.255. All right. There we go. All right, so next we're going to go and try another problem like this. All right, so first things first, these type of problems, we're not going to use the subnet calculator. We're just going to use a regular scientific calculator or any calculator that you choose. For the first one to start off with, it would actually just be the same, except it would be a /26. So the reason why it would be the same is that we have to go and start where the next network would begin on another prefix length, so in this case /26. So that's why we start with 168, 175, 175, 0, /26. So that's always going to be the case for that. So next, if we look here at the chart, we'll see that here's 62 usable addresses. So the block size is 64, so it would be the last octet is the interesting byte. So in this case, everything prior to the last octet, so in other words, the first 3 octets would stay the same, and we would add 64 to 0, and you would get 64 /26. All right. So basically, let me just pause before we move on to the first part and explain how we got that. So we took 0, all right, and we took the block size 64, and all we did was just do 64 plus 0, and we get 64. All right, so that's how we got 168, 175, 175.64 /26. And of course, the way we got the /26 was the prefix length for the 62 usable addresses. All right. All right, so the next part of the problem, again, it says one network with 62 usable addresses. So in this case, what we'll do is again, pretty much the first 3 octets are the same, but this time we're going to add 64 to 64. So if we add 64 plus 64, we get 128 /26. Okay. Again, or now, if you'll look here it says one network with 14 usable addresses. So it changed. So that being said, we have to come over here to the chart, and you'll see here is 14 usable addresses. So it'd be /28. All right. So in this case, the first 3 octets are the same. And now what we have to do is the 128 plus 64, so we get 192 /28. Now you may be wondering, well, wait, why did we add 64 instead of 16 for the block size? The reason why is that, again, it's going back to, now we're on a different network, so we have to start, or we have to type in where the next network's going to start, so we can't just leave it hanging. So what we have to do is add 64 to 128, and that's how we got the 192. All right. So let's try another one. So it says it's correct. All right. So again, what we're going to do is we know that the first one is going to be 154.17.00, so we can copy and paste that in. And now if we go to the chart, we need to find 8,190 usable addresses. So here we have 8,190 usable addresses, so that's a /19 prefix. So in this case, if we look here, we see that 255.255.224, which is the interesting bit. All right, .0. So in this case, 154.17 is the same. and the block size is 32. So if we do 32.0/19, and I just realized I forgot the /19 there. All right. Going back, we'll know that the first two octets are the same. Now what we'll do is we'll add 32 to 32 over here. So if we type 32 plus 32 in the calculators, we should get 64.0/19. All right. Now you'll notice the next part, it says 1022 usable addresses. All right. So now if we come to the chart, here it says 1022 usable addresses. So this has a prefix length of /22. So again, the first two octets would carry down. The third octet is the interesting byte. So it's 252 for the interesting byte. So in this case, we'll copy and paste that. Now remember, we have to finish the other one, or in other words, we'll have to go and for this one we have to go and specify the starting point of this next network. So in this case, what we have to do is we have to go back up here to the /19 section, and we have to add this block size to 64. So 64 plus 32, that would be .96.0. And be careful for the prefix length, it says 1022 usable addresses. So if we go here to the chart, we said that the prefix length is /22. All right, so in this case, this one here would be /22. Now again, if you look here, it changed to 254 usable addresses. So now what we need to do is we need to take a look here at 254. So here's 254 usable addresses. And in this case, we'll see that in this case, it's 255, 255, 2550. So in this case, the first two octets would be the same. We would add 4 because we have to specify the starting point. So 96 plus 4, that would be 100.0. And be careful with this one because it says 254. So in this case, the prefix length for this one would be /24. All right. So next thing here is, again, first two octets stay the same. Now the block size is 1, so in this case we just add 1 to 100 and we get 101.0/24, because here in the chart we had the prefix length /24. All right. So again, 254 usable addresses. So again, first two octets stay the same. Again, all we're adding is the block size, which is 1 to 101. So in this case, it would just be 102.0. And again, it would be /24. Okay. Now next, be careful with this one. It says one network with 62 usable addresses. So now we need to go and find on the chart 62 usable addresses. So here we have 62 usable addresses here. So it'd be right here, the /26. So again, be careful with this one. You'll be tempted to add 64 to 102, but remember, this is where the starting point of this next address is going to be. So in this case, it would be the first two octets. And what we need to do is go back to the section where it says 254 usable addresses, and we need to add the block size 1 to 102, and in this case it'd be 103.0. And now be careful, it says 62 usable addresses, so we need to come down here to 62 usable addresses, and the prefix length for this network is /26. So /26, and there you go. Next, we'll have 14 usable addresses. So if we go and look here, in this case, here's 14 usable addresses. So we take a look here, and here in the subnet mask, the first 3 octets are the same. However, the interesting byte is 240. So in this case, everything up to or anything prior to this last 0 will stay the same. So if we copy that, paste that there, now what we need to do is we have to go back to 62 usable addresses right here. And what we have to do is add 64, or the block size 64, to 0. And in this case, it would be 64 / and be careful again because it changed to 14 usable addresses. So going back to the chart, here's 14 usable addresses. So in this case, it would be /28. So again, the next one, the first 3 octets are the same. So in this case, 64, what we would add to 64 is we would add the block size 16 this time. All right. So if we add 64 plus 16, we get 80. And then it would be a prefix length of /28. Again, the last part here, 14 usable addresses. First 3 octets are the same. And then 80, we would add, again, the block size 16 to 80. So if we add 80 plus 16, we get 96. And then again, the prefix, the prefix length of /28. All right. Let's do another one. So in this case, the first network is asking for 254 usable addresses. So in this case, it would be this number, or this whole address here, 134, 137, 136, 0. We would use that, so we can copy and paste that in. Now what we need to find or do is take a look. Here is 254 usable addresses. So in this case, we would add the prefix length /24. So again, in this case, if we look here at the 254 usable addresses, so if we copy and paste that in, obviously it would just be the first 2 octets. So I just copied and pasted that, or copied the first 2 octets. So if we look here, we would add 136 with the block size of 1, so that would just be 137.0/24. All right. Now again, careful, because here it says 62 usable addresses. So now if we go here, here's 62 usable addresses. So here the interesting byte here is this last octet, which is 192. So now, in this case, anything before the 0, so 134, 137, 137, that stays the same. Oops, I'm sorry. That doesn't stay the same. The 13 stays the same. And the reason why of that is you have to add 1 to this number. So in this case, it'd be 138. So I'm kind of glad I made that mistake, because that just shows everyone that, you know, that it's tempting to put this block size in for the 62 usable addresses, add that by that. But again, you have to go and put in the blocks or add the block size from the previous one, so 254 usable addresses. So in this case, what we'll have to do is take 62 usable, or go back to 254 usable addresses, which is here, and we added 1 to 137 to get 138, because again, we have to specify that starting point. So in this case, it would be 134, 137, 138.0. And here's where we got to be careful. 62 usable addresses, we have to go and do /26. All right. 14 usable addresses. So if we go here, here is 14 usable addresses. So in this case, the interesting byte is the third octet. So again, we have to be careful with this, but because the previous one was 62 usable addresses, it's pretty much the same octet. The third octet is the interesting byte. So in this case, it is safe to copy and paste the first 3 octets down. And in this case, we have to go to 62 usable addresses, because we have to specify the starting point for this next network. And here we have 62 usable addresses. So in this case, the block size is 64. So we would add 64 plus 0, and that would just be 64/28, because that's the prefix length on the chart for 14 usable addresses. Whoops, I'm sorry, 28. So again, first 3 octets will carry over. And now what we need to do is we need to add 64. Now be careful. This is where we want to add 64 to the block size for 8/28 prefix, which is 16. So we would add 64 plus 16. We would do 80/28. All right. Same thing, the first 3 octets. And in this case, again, we would add 80 with the block size of 16. So 80 plus 16 would be 96/28. So I hope this video helped you understand how to subnet using the easier way, using a subnet chart, as well as the subnet calculator.